こんなどんなカーブもへっちゃらさダダダディダダドゥダダうなるエンジンで涙なんかぶちぎれ
Welcome to the Super Sentai Brothers. This is episode 39 of Licensed to Carranger, the internet's best and only podcast dedicated to Gekisou Sentai Carranger. Every week we watch an episode of the show and we share our thoughts with you, the listeners. My name is Matt Jane. With me as always is my co-host and brother Dave. Dave, how you doing today?
Doing pretty well, man. It's another weird and unseasonably warm day. Like, it was in like the 40s and like bright and sunny. It's deeply messing with like my internal calendar.
Oh,
like,
dude,
I have the opposite
not
of
just
sad.
yours. I walked out the door the other day to walk to my car, and I swear I heard like birds chirping as though it were a spring morning.
I have like reverse sad. I'm in like an unusually good mood because I'm all psychologically prepared to like hunker down for like a gray winter, and now there's all this sunshine, and like I was in an okay mood before because like I was prepared for grayness, but now there's sunshine and I kind of feel amazing. It's a little bit weird.
Okay, actually, this is actually a great segue into the first star of the day. But before we get to that, real quick, today we are talking about episode 39 of Gekisou Sentai Carranger. It is called I Love Roads, The Space Pet. It was written by Hirohisa Soda. Its original air date was November 22nd, 1996. If you are paying attention to the original air dates, you will note that there is a jump between this one and the previous one, and that is because during that jump is when the movie was airing.
Oh, okay.
The Carranger versus O-Ranger movie, which I have not seen, and I would love to at some point. Maybe we'll do a special episode of those movies at some point. But
the guy who wrote this one, Matt, Hirohisa Soda, he did a lot on Kaku Ranger. Is that right? Am I remembering that correctly?
I think so. The name is very familiar to me.
Yeah.
And not just from this run.
Yeah.
Anyway, Dave, of course, before we talk about that, as always, shining in the heavens, there are 5 stars. Would you like to hear what our first star of the day is?
I sure would.
Okay. So you were mentioning earlier that it has been very nice out.
Yeah. Unsettlingly nice. Like, I don't trust it.
Yeah, it is weird because, okay, so today is, as we record this, it is January 6th, which means that it is Epiphany.
Yeah. Right. Like, I'm filled with grim foreboding about this niceness. That's how I feel about it.
Well, a little bit. But, like, okay, here's what I was thinking of this morning. Today is January 6th, which means it is Epiphany,
right.
Which means it is it's the day I'm taking down my Christmas decorations, because Epiphany, I feel like, is the last day that you can take down your Christmas decorations before you have moved into the zone of just like, yeah, these are going to be up for a while. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's what's the last of the 12 days of Christmas.
Right. So, like, that closes things out, and then you can sort of say, like, okay, now I'm moving on. Now it's, like, fully the next year. We're out of the holiday season. But I'll be taking down my holiday decorations, Dave. But I don't have, like, mid to late winter decorations.
Oh, see, we do, because I'm married.
Sure.
What I should say is that my wife has midwinter decorations, and I enjoy them. Like, things appear, and I'm like, oh, that's great.
And they live in the house with you.
Yeah, precisely.
Well, see,
but, yeah.
So here's the thing. I don't have a wife, and so all of my decorations are things that I have purchased or otherwise acquired. So, like, I have Christmas decorations, and I have some fall decorations, and I have summer decorations. So I don't want to go. I don't want to go backwards to fall decorations.
No, you can't. Here's the color scheme you want, Matt. You know how I can tell you this with confidence that this is the color scheme you want?
Because it's the one that's currently in your house?
It's the one that's currently in my house because my wife told me. Here's what you want, like, early spring colors. You want, like, blues and greens and reds, but not like Christmas greens and reds.
Spring greens and reds.
Yeah, like spring greens and reds. You want, like, less saturation, or no, equal saturation, but like higher tone or something. But yeah, blues and greens and reds. And whites. That's what you want.
Well, okay, here's the thing, Dave. Is that color scheme kind of matches my summer decorations. And here's what I'm thinking. It was like 40-something degrees today. It might be...
It was 60 on Christmas.
It was 60 on Christmas. I might, instead of buying like late winter, early spring decorations, I might just put my summer decorations back out and see what happens.
Listen, you'll never know until you experiment, Matt. I think that's a good idea. You should give it a shot. I don't know that it will work.
And like,
you might...
This might be a bridge too far. Maybe it will all come collapsing down on me. But I definitely bought stuff for my Reign of the King of Summer last year. I've got like this decorative bowl that has a jungle scene on the inside of it. And I might just pull that back out.
Do it. Make it happen,
Very
man.
lush. I think I'm going full lush this year, Dave.
Well, you've got a lot of jungle print shirt. I shouldn't say a lot.
Well, I've got more than you.
You've got more than I do. I might say more than the average person.
Well, the thing is, Dave, that a jungle sort of or a tropical print shirt, I feel like works like it's not necessarily a dad shirt, but it's definitely an uncle shirt. And
it's a very, very good uncle shirt.
And like you have kids and I don't, so that's why I have those shirts.
Makes a lot of sense to me, Matt.
The other thing about today, not only is it the post-holiday cleanup, it is the first post-holiday trash day.
Which I actually did already have one, but
well, I probably had one last week, but it kind of coincided with New Year's, which always sort of throws off what day the trash pickup is actually going to be. So I wasn't sure when it was happening. So now I finally get to get rid of like a full Christmas season's worth of delivery package cardboard. And it's going to be so nice to finally get all of that out of my place.
Actually, Matt, our across the street neighbors also have they have actually a lot more kids than we do. They have 3 bio kids, and they currently have 3 foster kids.
Wow.
And so they missed our trash pickup was this morning, and so the wife and her husband just forgot to take the trash out because they're very busy, and the wife called my wife Beth and said, hey, we missed the trash pickup and it's already been done on our side. So I am just sending my children to put my garbage on your front yard so that the garbage people will take it. And Beth, of course, said that's fine. And then Beth told me the story and I was like, that was really nice that she called because I've totally done that to them and I didn't even ask. I'll just
neighbors.
It's totally cool. No, they're good. They're good neighbors. So Matt, what's our second star of the week?
Dave, our second star of the week is that I feel like I've been making a lot of video game recommendations recently. But that is because I'm currently in that zone where I have that really cheap access to the Xbox Ultimate Game Pass. And so I'm just playing all of the games for the last few years that I wanted to play, but never got around to it.
Thing. But I was going to start talking about Dishonored 2, but I felt like it was too old, so I'm not.
Well,
but
okay,
I'm playing it, and it's a lot of fun.
No, here's Dave. This is the star. The star is not that I'm recommending Hollow Knight. The star is that I really want to recommend Hollow Knight, but everyone on Earth has already played Hollow Knight, so there's no reason for me to do it. And now, the time that I would normally spend, I've played video games this week, but at least part of that is so that I could have something to recommend during the podcast some fodder for the 5 stars. Now I don't have that even. Now I'm just playing video games with the knowledge that, we're the last people to get to them.
Well, Matt, let me offer you a brief glimmer of hope, at least on the Hollow Knight front. I have not played this game, and I actually can't even really recall off the top of my head what it is. So...
Oh, well,
So, hold up, Matt. Let's just kind of roll this whole... Let's just start this whole thing over again. Matt, hey, what's our second star of the week?
Dave, our second star of the week is a really good game called Hollow Knight.
Is that new? I don't know that I've ever even heard.
It's new to me. I'm not exactly sure. I'm sure people have already gotten to it, but I got access to it via the Xbox Ultimate Game Pass, which I currently have on a bit of a sale.
I got that too. It was on great sales, like $1 a month for 3 months. I'll probably be canceling it soon because break's over and I'm not going to have as much time.
Sure.
But, yeah.
Well, before you do, if you enjoy the Metroidvania genre of game,
I do.
And I know I already recommended Bloodstained Ritual of the Night a few weeks ago. Dude.
Oh, I haven't gotten to that either. I've been playing Dishonored 2.
I will tell you what. having now spent a weird amount of time playing Metroidvanias recently, as much as I really liked Bloodstained, straight up, if you are going to play a Metroidvania like from the last few years that's available on the Game Pass, play Hollow Knight.
This is Hollow Knight.
Like,
yeah?
Hollow Knight, it's like, it's weird. It's like very, it's like oddly beautiful. If you just see stills of it, it doesn't look that amazing. It looks kind of flat. But if you're actually playing the game, it's all like, I think it's all like hand animated sprites. Or not sprites, but like hand animated drawings that have been like turned into a game.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I got it.
It's all like this underground, like lost kingdom, and everybody's a bug person. But it's like in a way that is sort of abstracted enough that it's cute, but it's not so cute that it doesn't stop being sort of like scary and otherworldly, if that makes sense.
Okay.
They do a really good job of like sort of slow rolling out what the game is about, and it's a lot of just like exploration and like learning the rules of the like how to get around and fight through this weird world. It is super good. I highly recommend that.
Very, very good. I don't know if I'm going to have time to get to it because Banner Saga 3 is also on there. And I would really like to. Dude, I'd really like to play Banner Saga 3.
I gave the Banner Saga games a genuine try, but I remember I opened it up, and before it let me play the game, it was giving me like, I swear to you, like an hour of tutorials of things that weren't even playing the game. It was like, here is the tutorial of how to like do all of the side stuff. And I was like, I would please, like, I understand that there are banners because you're going to war. I would like to get in a fight at some point, please. And the game was like, listen, I know that you want that, but first I need to tell you how to get down the river to the next location and set up another camp down there. It's like, I don't care about this camp. I just want to play this game. Maybe it's because I started with Banner Saga 2. And they just...
Oh, yeah, that may have been a little bit weird. Anyways, I really love the series.
I'm glad for you.
Yeah.
Anyway, where were we? What's our third star of the week, Dave?
Oh, third star of the week, Matt, is another... Man, we're just knocking it out of the park on, like, old recommendations. At this point, it's very well known. I don't really get to the movies that much, unless it's, like, a real special occasion. But I do watch YouTube because I like it, and, you know, my YouTube algorithm is pretty well trained. And so the other day it said, hey, would you like to watch this fight scene from Mission Impossible Fallout, which came out in, like, 2018?
Sure.
And I said, yeah, sure I would. And I didn't know this. I vaguely remembered hearing something about Henry Cavill, and he, like, had to go back, and he had to reshoot some scenes for Superman, but he had this mustache, and they had to digitally remove the mustache, and... And blah, blah, blah. Because he had a mustache for a different movie. Well, he had the mustache for Mission Impossible Fallout. So I see Henry Cavill, and he's got the mustache.
And you're like, aha, I can now timestamp this movie.
Right. And I had three thoughts in very rapid succession. And I want to be clear with you that at no point in this train of thought did I think to myself that I should have a mustache. Any more than any guy with a beard periodically considers, like, should I just go mustache?
Oh, yeah. Hey, listen, if you've never grown a beard, that happens to literally everyone.
Yeah, like, at some point you're going to be like, should I?
Like,
and then you won't.
Right, like
probably.
One day you're going to be having a really nice mustache day. You're like, maybe I could go just mustache.
But you're going to be like, maybe I could do just a mustache. Now, I think it is key to note that he did a mustache and then like a little bit of stubble where the rest of his beard would be.
Well, he also has a really excellent jawline, which is why I can't...
Well, see, okay.
That's why I can't do a mustache, because my jawline... Like, if I shave, I look like Beaker from the Muppets. It's just like one solid tube from like the top of my head to the tip of my shoulders. Like, there is no chin.
This is let me bring it back. These are the three thoughts that I had in very rapid succession. See Henry Cavill with a mustache. He's in a suit. He looks astonishing because he's Henry Cavill.
Sure.
And I think to myself, I'm like, oh man, like, that looks really good. Do mustaches just look good? And then the next thought was, stop immediately. No, stop it. That's Henry Cavill, who can kind of do anything.
Right. It's not that mustaches always look good. Like, it's that Henry Cavill always looks good, and he happens to have a mustache right now.
And actually, I saw some comparison shots between like Henry Cavill without a mustache and with. Dude actually I think looks better with a mustache. But anyways, first thought, do mustaches secretly look good? Second thought, stop, that's Henry Cavill. Third thought,
Superman should have a mustache.
You, Henry. Hey, I did a little bit think that. No, third thought, Henry Cavill, you monster. You irresponsible monster. What have you done? Because a bunch of people are going to see this movie. They're going to see, or have already seen it because it's a year and a half old. Will see this movie and see you with a mustache and think to themselves...
Right, they're going to have the first thought, but they're not going to have the second two.
Right. It's a terrible thing you've done. You're like John Hamm with fedoras.
Dave, I was just gonna say the fedora. It's like people who put on the fedora and then imagine that putting on the fedora also conveys upon them like the class of wearing a tailored suit and like,
right.
And also just like being the sort of guy who wears a tailored suit, no.
Step 1, fedora. Step 2, you're good.
Dude, and listen, like, if you are listening to this and you feel attacked, I want you to know that I've been there with you. I have a closet with some fedoras.
It's in my closet right now.
Fedoras.
It's in my Yeah. No, I only have one. But it's in my closet right now, and I keep it there as a reminder.
Right. Like, you could never go back. It's like a memento mori, but for hat wear.
It is, but a thing that you've already done rather than
right.
You know.
Well, it's a little.
It's like
backwards.
a remember your roots sort of thing. So yeah, Henry Cavill's mustache. That was my third star of the week. Matt, our fourth star of the week.
Okay, Dave. Here's another bit of throwback media that is in a weird way not throwback media anymore. Hey, remember?
Yeah, this is a weird one.
Remember a few years ago when they made a new Mutants movie, and then they said they were going to release it, and then they said they were going to delay it, and then just they stopped talking about it for 2 years?
I do remember that. Or I had forgotten about it entirely until this recent news came out, which is... now it's out.
Right, now they're just releasing it in April, and they're releasing it very soon, which they can do because the movie's been done for years, like literal calendar years, right?
Yeah, I feel like it was supposed to tie in with Legion, because they were kind of in and out at around the same time.
Yeah, I don't think they were supposed to be like actually connected, but I think they were supposed to be sort of like spiritually, like these are both side story creepy X titles, and then it got delayed because they wanted to like add some new special effects, and then Dark Phoenix came out and they're like, well, we can't have 2 X-Men movies out at the same time, and
they made the wrong call because they put out Dark Phoenix.
Right, well, yeah. What they could have done was nothing and probably had been a better reception. And it got me to thinking, Dave. So, like, this movie was delayed for what, like 2 years? There was that G.I. Joe movie the second G.I. Joe movie that they were like a month away from releasing, and then they pulled and released like a full calendar year later because they wanted to like 3D some stuff into it. And so it got me thinking, like, what's the tipping point, right? Like, how long can you just have a movie that's done that you don't release and still have it be like a movie you can release? Because I feel like once you pass a certain point, then you go into the realm of like, you just can't release that movie for 10 years, and then you need to like have some sort of, like word of mouth popular campaign to get people to finally see the lost masterpiece that is, this New Mutants movie, which I'm sure will be fine. But like by that point, people will be so crazy, like the Roger Corman Fantastic Four movie that's never been released. Like, you can't release it because I feel like that's gone around again, right? Like, if you had released that...
Is the Roger Corman one the super old one?
That is the one... There's a documentary about this. We might have talked about it on the show before. That they made and just, like... There are conflicting reports, but there is an idea that the movie was basically only greenlit so the studio could keep copyright on the name. of Fantastic Four, but like they did make a full movie.
Right. I have. Oh yeah, dude. I have seen parts of this movie.
I saw all of it on like I got some sort of illegal stream of this like 15 years ago in college and watched it. Like, you actually don't want to see it. It's pretty bad.
No, you really, really don't. When you asked, I thought this movie came out in the 70s. It's so bad. It came out in 1994.
But yeah, like how, like 1994, that's a long time ago. You couldn't release it now. Well, maybe, I don't know. Maybe you could. Maybe you could have like a midnight showing of it at like a B movie theater around the corner from a comic book convention.
Wow, 1994 was 25 years ago.
Sure was, Dave.
Who?
I mean, actually, it was 26 years ago, but who's counting?
Yeah, you're right. It's 2020.
I only have that number locked in my head, A, because it's simple math that I should have been able to do otherwise, but I was thinking about it because I just watched The Quick and the Dead the other day. The Quick and the Dead came out in 95.
Man, that's a heck of a film.
Sure is. It does not feel nearly as old as the 1994 Roger Corman Fantastic Four movie. And
well, yeah, that's the kind of the point. Like, anyway,
yeah, like, what's the tipping point? Is it 10 years? Like, if a movie is 10 years old, can you then say, like, hey, you know you missed the boat on this one. It's finally time to see it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, because there definitely is one, right?
Right.
Because, like, 2 years is just weird.
Right, 2 years is weird. If it's 3 years, you can't just put it in the theaters, right? Because at that point, the actors who are... especially
too old.
Especially for a movie like New Mutants that has relatively young stars, like, those people have grown noticeably in a couple of years.
Yeah, and as well, and with, like, a superhero film, like, a lot of it is relying on special effects and stuff. So, if you wait too long, now it's just going to look, like, silly and dated. But if you waited a real long time...
then it feels retro. Anyway, I have no answer about this. I saw the trailer this morning and I was like, this is the wildest thing. Well, it's not the wildest thing, but it's a wild thing. It's not where the wild things are. It's just... and it's not wild things. It's just a thing that is wild, but not the thing from the Fantastic Four. That's a different movie. Also wild. I'm sorry. I'm on a loop now. You need to break it for me.
Yeah, no, sorry. My only mild beef with this, and actually as I think about it, it's not really a beef, that this New Mutants movie is that it's not a Generation X movie, but really, you would have to have a New Mutants movie first, and then you would have a Generation X movie.
My only beef with it, Dave, is that it doesn't have the character Beef from the Hellions, who was a villain from the New Mutants. And also, they had their chance in a Generation X movie. They put it on TV in like 1996, and it was, despite my like nostalgic fondness for it, extremely bad.
Yes, it was that, but it did have Mondo in it. Anyways, Matt, what is our fifth star?
Fifth star of the week, Dave, is that, wow, we've been doing these stars for a bit now. I mean, 5 years, but in this moment, we've been doing them for a while now. So have I told you that I've been doing Duolingo?
You have not told me, but you spent a lot of your time when you were over here, like, hanging out for Christmas, like, on Duolingo.
Not a lot of time. That makes it sound like...
No, I shouldn't say it like that. Yeah, sorry. You were doing Duolingo, and I noticed, and you were, like, saying French things into your phone, so I sort of put it together.
Sure, right. You're a detective, and a very good one. That sounded more patronizing than I wanted it to. Anyway, I've been doing Duolingo. Dave, I had to keep my streak alive, even on Christmas. I've been doing Duolingo, and I got sick of watching the advertisements, and they were like, hey, do you want 1 free week of Duolingo Plus? And for a week, I was like, no, I don't. Because once I get a free week of Duolingo Plus, I'm going to forget, and then I'm going to have a year of paid Duolingo Plus. And so then my streak broke, and I was like, man, I'll put my streak back if I get Plus. And it's free. And I'm trying to learn French anyway.
Right.
Anyway, so a week later, I get a voicemail from my bank. It's like, hey, there was this weird charge on your phone. And I was like, oh, what's this weird charge? And I'm doing like, I get on my computer and I'm looking at my my bank balance and I'm trying to find like the names and like this weird amount pops up. I'm like, oh, that's slightly more money. Like that is definitely more money than I would spend without knowing that I was spending it. Because at first it was like I got the voicemail on January 1st, so I assumed that my Uber ride home on New Year's Eve was just like...
Oh, it just been like...
Right, it was just like exorbitant. And I was like, oh, I got to make sure that like... Because I knew it was going to be expensive because it's a Uber ride on New Year's Eve. But I was like, which is fine. That's just what you do because you don't drive on New Year's Eve. But...
You're right.
I was like, okay, maybe this company is like trying to screw me. And I'm like looking through like, oh, no, I just did the thing. I just made the decision to spend the money, but like didn't admit to myself that I had made the decision to spend that money. So I just let it happen. And now that money is just gone, but still learning French. And I probably would have quit otherwise. So, not silver lining, Dave. Not all bad.
No, great job, Matt. I hope it goes well for you.
Speaking of not all bad, Dave, we are going to take a break. We're going to watch episode 39 of Gekisou Sentai Carranger, and we will be right back. All right, welcome back. Dave?
Matt?
How'd you feel about this one? Because it was a real roller coaster for me.
Yeah, man. It was. So,
So we start off strong, right? We start off real strong.
Let me say, overall, I would say I liked it as an episode of Sentai. In the, like, it was an exemplar of a particular type of Sentai episode. And so I liked watching it happen. As an episode of television, it was very... it certainly existed. So, the opening is fantastic. Here's what we find out. Evil Dash Emperor Exhaust loves Earth highways. Like, he's an aficionado. He's a highway aficionado. He says, of all the planets in the galaxy, or whatever, this is like top tier highway. These are amazing.
This planet's basically already covered in highways. I'm trying to make a space highway. Like, he's like getting out his magnifying glass and just checking out the craftsmanship.
Yeah, he's super impressed. And he's like, I am going to destroy the Earth, but before I do that, I am going to steal all of their highways, and I am going to, like, cannibalize them in some way to just sort of, like, tack them on to my own, like, evil galactic Autobahn. Like, that's...
Right.
And then we'll destroy the Earth.
That is kind of how he is planning to do the whole thing. Like, he is not planning to do a lot of construction himself. He is going to Frankenstein this whole thing together from the highways of all the planets of the galaxy. So, he calls to the Bozoke. He's like, hey, dummies. And they're like, hey, wait, what's going on? Why do you want us again? Clearly you hate us. He's like, no, listen. Here's what I need you to do. Go down to Earth, get all the highways, bring them up to space for me. And Grotch hops in and is like, listen, I don't know if you know this about us, but we hate manual labor. Totally not our thing.
Like, this is, right, like, this is why we are what we are. Like, nobody becomes, like, a reckless biker gang.
Because they love an honest day's work.
Right. Like, this is antithetical to who we are. And he's like, I don't know why I'm dealing with you morons. But fine. Here. Like, use this animal. Or he doesn't say it's an animal, sorry. He says, use the Begar, and that will, like, solve your problems.
Right. I'm going to send the Begar down to Earth by special delivery. Go down, meet it there, and then it'll just, like, you'll be fine. Just bring all the highways of Earth up to space, and then we can get trucking on this thing. So Grotch goes down to Earth, and the special delivery, it's just like in a cardboard box that is being held aloft by like 4 helium balloons. And Grotch is trying to chase after it, but it's sort of like, I don't know, man. Have you ever chased a balloon? Like, it's difficult. Like, it's sort of floating away from him, and he keeps, like, almost getting it, and it tumbles away. And eventually, he goes, like, up to the top of a roof, and he's about to get it, and then it just floats off. He's like, well, I can't jump after it. So now it's just gone forever, I guess.
Yeah, well, they've also have sent the worst possible... Like, if you don't recall, Grotch is basically shaped like a wet flesh sack. Like, that's kind of his...
Dave, you could have said potato. Potato would have been fine.
Well, no, because he's not quite potato sack shaped. It's just... Like, if you had, like, a shopping bag, like a plastic shopping bag full of wet meat, and then it had arms and legs, that's basically Inventor Grotch.
Thank you, Dave. This is wonderful.
And so, like, he's like the worst... You could have sent literally anybody else, and they would have done a better job. With a possible exception of President Dynamo, who's just, like... just unwieldy, it seems. Anyways, so it's Yuko who finds this box because, of course, it lands and it's sort of hanging on the side of Pegasus Motors. He's like, "What is it?"
Well, they only got a few sets, Dave.
Yeah. So she brings it in. They're like, "What is it?" She says, "I don't know. We should open it." And everybody's stoked to open it, except Kyosuke, who says very reasonably, you should just give that to the police. Like, it's not yours. Like, you can't just open stuff. Like, finders, keepers, losers, weepers is not, like, legal precedent. You can't just do that.
You can't do that for mail. It's a felony.
So then the box jumps. It sort of, like, hops. And they're like, oh, what's happening? And they open it up, and it's basically a gremlin, like from the movie, like the fuzzy one.
Yeah.
It's not the
like,
weird...
It's sort of like a gremlin. It's like a Garbage Pail Kid version of the Gremlins, but not like a... I'm sorry, of a Mogwai. Mogwai is the fuzzy one. Gremlin is the
thank
one.
you. Yeah, it's like a Garbage Pail Mogwai.
Or what were those things called? Popples?
Maybe. Isn't Mogwai a band, too?
Dave, I have no idea. Why would you do this to me?
I don't know. You
This?
might know about a band thing. You're cooler than I am about stuff like that.
Well, that's a very kind thing of you to say, Dave, but I have no idea. It probably is.
No, I'm totally right. Mogwai is a Scottish post-rock band formed in 1995 in Glasgow.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it kind of looks like that. It's like... It also looks like, remember Mad Balls?
Yes. Yeah, it's a Garbage Pail Kid Mogwai Mad Ball. Perfect.
Yeah, like it doesn't... If it has arms and legs, they're very small. Also Popples. But like its teeth are all broken, and it's got this nasty look on its face, and its color scheme is sort of gross. And everyone has the reaction of like, oh, well, this is a horrifying beast, and they shriek and turn their heads, except for Naoki. And Naoki is like, oh my gosh, would you look at that cute face, and just picks him up and starts hugging him.
Which I love, because it's a total, this is a bunch of my notes, I'm like, oh, this is a Blue Ranger episode. Like, this is a super classic, like, the Blue Ranger, like, there's something that's supposed to be a monster, and the Blue Ranger, like, has some sort of relationship with it, and it turns out to, like, be better, or, like, it's not totally a monster, or like, they somehow, like, redeem or bring this thing back, or like, whatever. But this is, like, a total Blue Ranger move.
It absolutely is. We've seen, Shoji's done it.
Yeah, Shoji did it. Akko did it. Like, it's just, yeah.
What's his name? From O-Ranger.
Yeah,
the guy with the flips, you know, full haircut guy.
All the Blue Rangers have flips. It's like their thing.
Anyway, so he picks it up, and he's like, you are my new best friend. I will love you forever.
Okay, so we jump from there to Barabarian, and we get another, piece of evidence on the size of Reckless Dash Emperor exhaust. And I think this dude just might be like the size of Jupiter.
Okay, on one hand, yes. But I can't imagine that this is his actual physical form. Because if it was... Like, okay, listen, car magic, right? Anything can happen.
That's what I thought.
he would blot out the sun. Like, Earth would be in a panic 24/7. He would destroy, like, he would ruin the tides. The Earth would come out of its gravitational orbit. That is how much bigger he presents than the Earth.
Well, that was what I assumed as well, but, like, he's, like, leaning over and, like, poking the bozoke and, like, grabbing meteors and stuff.
Well, sure, but, you know, Luke's a Force ghost, and he catches that lightsaber.
Oh, he does do that. Man, that was real good.
Anyway.
Oh, man, that was such a great moment. Anyways, basically every time Luke Skywalker was on screen in the new Star Wars movies was my favorite part of the Star Wars movies. Like, the rest of it was good. So, like, every time Luke comes out and did something, I was like, oh, yes. Like, that's why I'm really...
Yeah. Although I am glad they didn't just make it, like, a movie about old Luke Skywalker.
Oh, yeah,
like, that would have been
I think
terrible.
The fact that he's only there, like, Mark Hamill is in those movies for, like, he's got a grand total of, like, 40 minutes of screen time. Which, again, I think is the right call, you know what I mean? But every time he shows up, like, it did feel real good. Anyways, so, he's like... They're like, we've got bad news. Evil Emperor of Space. We did lose it. We lost it.
The beaker is gone. I know you sent it to Earth, but I guess it's probably still down there, but we don't know where. And of course, the Emperor is furious. He's like, "You've lost it. It was the last of its kind. I used those things all the time. This was like one special thing that I had that I trusted you with, and now it is gone. You idiots."
Yeah, they're not really sure what what to do.
Right, they're like, we haven't even really seen this thing. Like, it's the last of its kind? It's an animal? What's going on? And then we hear the Emperor's horrifying tale.
Yeah. So what happened is that these critters...
What had happened was these critters love to eat concrete. So he would basically send them as, like, galactic highway termites, kind of, and, like, do all this. But he worked their entire species to death. Yes, he worked them to death, and then the ones that tried to flee were killed. So now there's just this one.
Yeah, and he's like, it's super important. He's like, the other reason that I chose Ursh is because, like, there's something about the environment on Earth that will cause the Beegar's cells to go into, like, ultra overdrive, and that one Beegar will, like, asexually multiply into, like, 100,000 Beegars.
You know how if you get a Mogwai wet, it just, becomes a bunch of Mogwai?
Yeah, that's
like
how...
that, because that's exactly what's happening.
Oh, wait, is that where all the gremlins come from? Do they just... I've never seen gremlins.
Oh, yeah, there are two rules to gremlins. Rule number 1 is don't get them wet. Rule number 2 is don't feed them after midnight. Because if you get them wet, they multiply rapidly. And if you feed them after midnight, that's when the Mogwai turns into the gremlin. There's no clear indication as to, like, when you're allowed to start feeding them again, but definitely not right after midnight.
I see. Yeah, so, like, I knew there were 2 rules, but I didn't know that was why. So anyways, so they're like, all right, cool, we'll sick our number 1 animal trainer on it, Cici Pachune. And I said it like that because he's clearly supposed to be kind of Italian. He's like a weird Italian Mr. Peanut monster.
Well, he's like a circus ringleader man.
Yeah, but, like, also a Mr. Peanut. But also a space monster.
There's a lot going on with Cici Pachune.
Yeah. Pachune.
I mean, he's not as Italian as the pizza monster. That's for sure.
He's not. He's not quite. That pizza monster was real good. I hope he was high on I feel like he was higher on the list than a lot of these monsters have been. Anyway, so we go back from there to Pegasus Motors, and Naoki is like, please, you have to let me keep him. Like, he's so precious and cute. He's not. He's so precious and cute. Like, he's a poor orphan animal. I don't know why he knows he's an orphan. Maybe he's just assuming this. and like, this is very important, you've got to let me keep him. Dapu has never heard of this thing, which is insane to me. Like, how has... Like, this seems like... Of course, nobody had heard of Reckless Emperor Exhaust either. So he's like...
Dapu has heard of Reckless Emperor Exhaust.
Oh, no, he has. So how has he never heard of these things? They're like his number one... He's like an entire species that he's weaponized a species and then destroyed it. How has Dapu never heard of this thing? But he hasn't. I'm blown away. And so Dapu makes the very good point. He's like, listen, man, you got no idea what's going on. This is a creature from space. It could be anything. At the very least, like, we need to quarantine this.
Right. It could be carrying weird space viruses. Let's just, like, keep it over there for a while until we know it's okay.
Yeah.
And everyone else is being very chill. They're like, listen, Naoki, you can have your weird space monster pet, I guess, but let's be smart about this. And Naoki's like, that is 100% unacceptable. And as he is saying this, like, the Beaker bites Minoru on the finger, and Minoru's like, hey, listen, we're being very reasonable. That's not cool. This whole thing is not great. I have now just been bitten by a space monster. We work our entire lives to avoid this sort of thing happening to people. This is our job.
Yeah. And it just sort of flies away. Oh, Beagars can fly. Like, they could just sort of, like, superhero fly.
Around,
like, yeah, they just sort of hover around. And, like, Naoki chases after him. And so Naoki's like, no, he's just a sad space orphan. Like, and I will help him. So he, like, runs off to chase him. And he like, when he sees... So Naoki catches up with him. And when the Beagar sees Naoki, he, like, bites Naoki, too. And Naoki's like, oh, man, you must have been so abused. Like, this must be why you're doing this. Like, I will help you.
Right. And after a minute, the Beaker relents. Like, it stops biting. Like, it lets go of its bite. And then just sort of nuzzles in. And Naoki's like, yes, finally. Like, now it is pet times.
I've done it. Yes.
So he, like, puts him inside of his jacket, and they're, like, riding his bike around. And they go up to the river, and Naoki's like, listen, you've got to eat something, but I don't know what you eat. So I've gotten together this, like, collection of items. Of course, I've got some milk. I've got chocolate. Here's a jar of some old fish guts.
Yep.
Just in case you want those. Here's some pickles. A lot nicer. And then there was a bottle of something that I'm pretty sure was like soju. And that's a weird option.
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing assortment of dishes. Like, just the idea of like, well, I'm not sure what you can eat. So like, these are the 6 things that I'll choose. Like, is it any of these?
What I'm hoping is not going on is that Naoki just like opened up his lunch pail. Was like, well, let's see what we've got in here.
Now that is a bachelor friggy sort of thing to have out.
I don't know, man. I've been a bachelor for a very long time, and I ain't never brought fish guts to lunch.
Well, you're from Ohio, Matt. You're not in a pickled fish guts heavy environment. Whereas I feel like, and I don't know this for sure. Well, I do know this for sure because Naoki has some pickled fish guts. That Japan is a much more pickled fish gut heavy environment than I think you would.
I don't remember him saying pickled fish guts. I just remember him saying fish guts.
No, he said something about like they're prepared in some way.
Okay.
So anyways, Beagar's like, I'm not interested in it. He doesn't say this, but he's not interested in any of this. And he flies away and he tries to eat a rock. And Naoki's like, silly little guy, you can't eat rocks. Which, like, nuts to you, Naoki. It's a weird space alien. But I think we mentioned that this Beagar has, like, super nasty teeth. And so he tries, and what I had assumed is that just, like, Beagars have, like, weird, gross teeth. Not the case. He has, like, horrible space cavities. And so he tries to bite this rock, and he can't.
See, I still did not understand that that's what was happening. I thought that his feelings were hurt by the fact that Naoki did not believe that that's what he ate. And also, we don't know that he eats rocks. We know that he eats concrete. So I was like, maybe he tries to eat it, but it's not quite right, and he's sad because Naoki doesn't know what he wants and doesn't seem willing to help him find what he's actually hungry for. I was completely wrong. It's space cavities. I mean, I should have assumed, right?
Yeah, you really should have figured that one out.
So, the beaker flies away, like over to like another part of the river, and then the sun starts to set as he's weeping, and Naoki chases after him like, "No, my sweet pet, please come back and stop crying." And as they're dealing with all of that, like a whip crack comes out of the bushes, and Cici Pacione is there with Inventor Grotch.
Yeah. So it's actually pretty cool. He does like some neat whip fight moves. He can like electrify his whip, and he also has a monocle that he can shoot like eye blasts out of, like Moses Magnum style.
Classic.
Yeah, and then the Rangers arrive, and there's a little bit of a fight, but they're not actually the Bozok. That is, they're not really here to fight. Like they're just here for the Beagar. So he sort of like snatches the Beagar, and they just sort of teleport out. It's nighttime then, and we say Cici Pacione is gathering like buckets of pure Japanese spring water.
Yes, and at this point I'm like, oh, this is so much a Gremlins thing.
It's definitely a Gremlins thing. So what we find out is that if you combine pure Japanese, from Emperor Exhaust, or no, they're reading the instructions that Emperor Exhaust has sent them, which is if you combine pure, clean Japanese spring water with what is effectively like powdered kale. I looked this up. You just like dump a bunch of this powdered green into the water, and then you sort of mix it up, and then you make the Beagar drink 100 bottles of that, and then it will just clone itself.
Right, and then it will go from one Beagar to, what is it, 10,000, 100,000?
It's like 10 or 100,000.
Now, here's the thing. It's not that if you make it drink 10 of these things, it will become 100 Beagar. No, it is one Beagar, and then if you waterboard it all night with bottles of kale juice, it will, like, once it has finished its 100th bottle, transform into 10,000 of these things.
Yeah, just like immediately.
Which is horrifying. I mean, not that it would transform. That's just like what this thing does, apparently. But like, seeing the Beagar chained to a chair with its mouth held open with chains as they're like threatening it with this huge pile of bottled like weird green juice is okay. You said that Hirohisa Soda wrote a bunch of Carranger. He did write some Carranger. But I looked it up. He was the head writer on a bunch of series, and they are older series than this. Like, he was the head writer on Goggle V and Dynaman and Bioman and Changeman and Flashman and Maskman and Liveman and Turbo Ranger and did I already say 5-Man?
Yeah, you did, I think.
Anyway.
Yeah, well, those old seasons are real wild.
And you know how old Sentai gets raw? Like, this is that. It's just like a weird left turn into, like, 1987 Sentai. Where just, like, sometimes it's gonna get dark.
So anyways, we go back from there, and Naoki is, like, super broken. He's just wrecked about this whole thing. And he's like, listen, and he's telling them, he's like, I recognize that this is a little bit weird, that I'm so, like, bent out of shape about this. But, like, ever since I was a little kid, I just can't let animals suffer. And we get this, like,
or rather, montage. I've never wanted to let animals suffer.
That's right. I definitely can let it happen, but it super bums me out. And we get this montage of him, like, bringing animals home, maybe all in one day.
It seems that way.
And it's like a rabbit and a cat and then like a turtle and a snake and something else. And he asks his mom, like, oh, can I care for these poor wounded animals? And she's like, absolutely not. And then we see a scene where he's at a beach and he's just put them all in cardboard boxes. And he's like, goodbye, my friends. I'm sorry that I couldn't care for you. And then just leaves.
So he's like, I've always loved animals and I've always been like very moved by their suffering. But basically have never successfully saved even one of them.
Right, but I made a vow. That, like, someday I would successfully save an animal, this is it.
He's like if Daigo was a huge screw-up.
And so Minoru, the other ranger who was likely to love animals, because he's the Green Ranger, he says, listen, dude, I get it. Like, I also love animals. But also, this is a literal monster from space. So, like...
Maybe pump the brakes, buddy.
Yeah. And now he's like, no. Like, a hard no. Hard pass. This creature is good. I know it. And he just sort of, like, cry runs into the darkness.
Right. While saying, what could they be doing to them? And my man, you would never guess. I mean, unless he saw gremlins. But, like, there's a pretty good chance that whatever you think that CC Paccione is doing to the beaker, you are wrong.
Yeah, unless you were like us just watching the episode, in which case you're not wrong, but you are horrified.
Sure, and mystified.
So now he sort of like comes up, he's just sort of running, and then like he hears the beaker yelling, and then like we zoom over and we see that the beaker's about to get the last bottle, and
Naoki follows the sound of the beaker's voice, which he recognizes, of course.
Yeah.
And finds a cave and runs in to behold the scene.
Yeah, at which point he heroically dooms the beaker species to extinction. Because this is the last one. And, like, I don't know if anybody else, including the beaker, knows how to get beakers to reproduce.
I mean, maybe they will, like, regularly reproduce at a slower rate, and this is, like, a weird thing that's being done to, like turbocharge.
Oh, okay, so they normally do reproduce asexually, and this was just gonna... All right, that works.
That's what I'm choosing to believe here.
So anyways...
So he rolls into the cave. Up. He does not hench. He just picks up a largish rock and throws it at the monster. And then while CC Paccione is distracted by having been hit in the head with a largish rock, Naoki just runs in, grabs the beaker, and runs out. So he's running away. He's being chased by Grotch and CC Paccione. He gets to this one bridge that we see people fight on all the time. It's not the bridge in the city. It's the bridge in the woods.
Yeah.
You know, the one woods bridge.
The one bridge. That one.
So he gets sort of to the other side, and Wumpers are being summoned. But then the other four Rangers all arrive. They're like, listen... You get the beaker out of here. We'll handle these jokers. Everything will be fine. Just, like, get him to safety.
So now he looks down. There's, like, some running. And, and then, like, there's an explosion. And, like, Naoki's, like, in the river. And they're sort of like, we got him now. And they sort of go to chase him. And then Naoki sort of, like, comes up out of the river, like, behind them, kind of Rambo style. But he's got the beaker with him. And the beaker's looking rough. Which makes sense, because you got just almost... I was about to say almost lethally waterboarded, but it's like quite literally the opposite of that. But he looks very bad.
He's not good.
Yeah. And so now he looks down, he's like, oh, dude, now I get it. Like, now he also notices that, like, the teeth are obviously some sort of problem. He's like, we just gotta fix your teeth, man. And so he just goes to a dental clinic. Just goes to a dentist.
Right, because if you can fix your teeth, then you can eat and you can restore your health.
Right, so he runs in, and everybody else in the clinic runs out screaming, which is very reasonable.
Sure, because he's running with the space monster.
Right, and including the dentist, and now he's just like, well, guess I'll have to do it myself.
So,
and then
my dude just starts doing amateur veterinary orthodontics and dentistry on his weird space gremlin.
Yeah, now you say amateur, which amateur that is true in the sense that he is not officially licensed, I would assume, but not amateur in terms of the quality that he manages to produce, because he just straight up does this. There is kind of a horrifying moment where he has made the Beager some dentures.
Because he's not filling cavities. He's making dentures. Now,
yeah, so he makes dentures, but the Beager still has some teeth.
Yeah, so there's a horrifying middle step here.
Yeah, which is he just has to pull out all the Beager's teeth, and the Beager is freaking out, and Naoki just yells, "You must endure it."
Right, because although he is willing to do some amateur veterinary orthodontia and dentistry, he is not apparently willing to do some amateur veterinary anesthesiology.
Yeah, so then we get this sort of horror shot of like a toothless mouth from the Beager, and it's just a weird animal gummy mouth. And when you think about it, so teeth are weird because they're just bones that grow out of your face.
Sure.
But on the outside of your skin?
Well, on the outside of most of your skin.
Well, yeah. I mean, your teeth are technically outside of you in that sense.
Well, yeah, but they're inside your lips. Lips are skin.
Well, yeah, I mean, what I'm saying is they're outside of you in the same way that, like, the interior of your stomach is technically outside of you. So, like, that's weird. Teeth are weird, but somehow seeing him without teeth is worse?
Oh, well, I think that seeing him without teeth is worse because it really reminds you that there were teeth there a second ago and now they have been removed.
Yeah.
Anyway, Naoki, I don't know, maybe Naoki has tapped into his, like, expert ability to model cars and has used that to make teeth for a space monster, but he does it. And he puts in that new set of chompers, and then everything's okay with Beager.
Yeah, sort of. And he's just like, and then Beager says out loud, "Hey Naoki, great job." And I do appreciate that Naoki is as freaked out by that as I am, because he's like, "What? You can talk?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, man, my teeth were just messed up," which is insane. Like, there's no way. He absolutely should still have been able to talk.
Right, like, that's... I mean, whatever. It's an unsettling moment, though.
Yeah. So anyways, he's like, "Oh, I'm so hungry.
Hang here, I'm gonna go get a bite." Goes over, eats the support column of a highway, then just comes back, says, "Cool, all full now. Let's just do what we're gonna do here." Now, this is something that Naoki, as someone who fights for traffic safety, should at least call somebody and say, "Hey, this highway is no longer safe. It is missing a full support column."
He definitely should. And then the Beaker's just like, he sort of explains the whole back history, which I like that they threw it in, because, like, we of course got it, but Naoki had no reason to know any of that. So he sort of fills Naoki in on all the stuff that we already know about, like, the Beagers and being worked to death.
Right. It's extremely raw. And then
it's very bad.
He also then says, Naoki's like, "Well, why? Like, what's the point of any of that?" And the Beaker says, "Oh, well, the Emperor is trying to build, like, a huge space highway. That's, like, his ultimate plan, so..." Which, of course, at this point, the Carrangers have no idea about.
Yeah, so it's a nice good moment, actually, to get some exposition in. And so, then CC Pachone shows up again, but it's just Naoki and the Beager can't do a whole lot. And so it's just Naoki versus CC Pachone. It goes very, very poorly. And then CC Pachone throws out, he's like, "You're such a stubborn, ordinary person." And I do love the recurring gag that, like, nobody knows that the Carrangers, and is just, like, genuinely surprised at, like, the tenacity and ferocity and, like, weirdly good timing of these 5 total randos.
I mean, to be fair to CC Pachone, you would think that if Naoki was a Carranger, he would have transformed by this point, and he's never seen it happen.
Oh, good point. Well, he does it now, and it's very good, because CC Pachone just, like, blasts, and there's, like, a big, huge explosion, and then he's like, that must have gotten him. And then when the explosion sort of, like, blows away, there's Naoki Henshin behind it.
Very good. Like, behind, like,
I
the
love a good explosion Henshin.
Is making, like, heat waves that are, like, rippling his image. It's super great.
Oh, yeah. No, I should say, it's not really an explosion Henshin unless you get those heat ripples. I feel like they must make sure to get them in every time, because you always see it.
It's a big part of it.
Yeah. So he does like a flying kick and then kicks Beager hard enough to launch him out of CC Pachone's hands.
As though he is a like soccer ball.
Yeah. Seems like it would have damaged the Beager, but it doesn't. And he's like, we will avenge. Like, we'll get revenge for this. And then some like Wumpers show up and there's a Wumper fight. I feel like the Wumper fights for this, like the minion fights for Carranger, are not quite up to snuff. I have felt like.
No,
maybe it's just
I
that Carranger, like Carranger and O-Ranger were like particularly good.
Well, and
minion
Ranger,
fights.
right?
Yeah, Ranger was good, but I remember when we moved from Ranger to Ranger thinking like, oh dang, like these are notably better than they were in Ranger.
I remember you thinking that. I still think that Ranger has some of the best minion fights, because the thing that makes Ranger and Ranger both
does have all those individual kung fu styles.
Right, like both of those shows were very focused on the fact that the heroes were skilled at a particular style of martial art. Like either they're all good at ninjutsu or like they're all good at like individual styles of kung fu. And so all of that got to really be like choreographed and showcased. And then in O-Ranger, although the choreography in O-Ranger was not like super amazing, the fight cinematography in O-Ranger was great.
Yeah, it really was particularly good.
And in Carranger, that's just not their focus, right? Like it's a comedy show. The fights are there, they're fun, but it doesn't really feel like that's the point of the show. So they don't spend a lot of time and effort on it. I don't know. Maybe someone who is more knowledgeable about like TV fights would say that I'm completely wrong and I'm missing a lot of subtle nuance, but that's what it feels like to me.
I don't know. I agree with you. And anyways, so Naoki gets it, and then Naoki like crushes that. Like this is over very, very quickly. Like now that Naoki's got his dander up, this fight is basically over. CC Pachone goes down. He, Emo Yokan witness me is sort of like he becomes a giant, and then he dies. It's a little bit more than that. There actually is a really funny moment.
Yeah, like Naoki gets to actually fight him with his individual police fighter, which is fun.
Yeah, and he gets handcuffed, which I thought was very funny. And then Beager chews through the chain. He gets like electrocuted through like the chain that he gets that CC Pachone grabs him with, and then Beager like chews through it. So that's a cool move.
It is cool, especially because Beager's like, this does not taste nearly as good as concrete, but I'm doing it for you because we're pals.
Yeah, and then so some of the rest of the fighters they combine into VRV Robo, and then CC Pachone like they summon Vulcan Twister, and CC Pachone sees it and he's like, "What the heck?" Which leads me to believe, did they just not know? Like, does it must just be that like Dynamo and Grotch and Zelmoda just don't tell the rest of the Bozoke like the horrifying, devastating power of Vulcan Twister.
That is,
they're just like, oh yeah, it'll be fine. Like, you go fight. And so like every time Vulcan Twister comes out, like none of the Bozark are prepared for it.
Maybe that's
like
why
they
they're
just
all so
thought that they were
to go giant. They're like, listen, I'm sick of fighting these small guys. I'll just be big and then I'll win because I'm big and they're small. And they just don't know that the robots are coming. Like, they must know to some extent.
I just feel like they just don't know. This tells me that they don't know about Vulcan Twister, and that it's like a horrifying surprise, like a horrifying last surprise of their lives.
Boy. They just don't do a good job of getting the word out. Unless you're one of the people who hangs out in the BB saloon every day, you're not watching like the 2 TV monitors they have pointed like cameras pointed towards the earth.
And you aren't, because we never see those dudes.
Right,
like, they always bust in the doors.
It's the first time you've seen them. They're hanging out at some other bar on the other side of Barbarian. Then they roll in. They're like, hey, we've been orbiting around this planet for a while. What's going on? Oh, you need me to go get an animal? That's great. I'm the #1 animal trainer. I'll see you guys later. No, I don't need a briefing. Everything will be fine.
Everything is fine. I'm a horrifying space monster. Like, what could possibly threaten me? And then Naoki, so then that's the fight, and then Naoki, they're everybody's cool, and he's like, come on, Beager, like, let's go. And they sort of like jaunt off into the sunset so that Beager can either die as the last member of his species or reproduce and destroy Earth's concrete infrastructure.
And Naoki says, as they're going off together, Beager, let's be friends forever. And I would be so shocked if we saw the Beager in even one more episode of this show.
Yeah, they're not great with follow through. So Matt, that is the end of this episode.
It's true,
but
Dave.
It's not the end of our episode.
That is very true, because first, of course, we need to determine where CC Piccione lands in the Creature Royale. He's fine.
Yeah, I mean, the only real comparison I have for him off the top of my head is XX Milano, the pizza maker, just because they're both real Italian, and XX Milano is at spot number 41, and there's just no way that CC Piccione is that high.
No, and the other animal tamer was, what's her name from O-Ranger? Like the zookeeper?
Karis? Is that right?
It was something like that, yeah. And she was also super good. This guy is like a bad version of both of those two things smashed together. Like, again, he's not terrible. He is
Karis
fine.
the zookeeper. She's number 63.
But, like, his ability as a animal trainer is never really explored. Yeah, he doesn't have, like, a cool gimmick. He's just got a whip.
The whip is neat.
It's fine, but it's not even a special whip. It's just a whip.
Yeah, no, he's way, way down. And again, not because there's anything wrong with him. He's just sort of like I feel like we're getting a lot of that this season.
Very much so, yeah.
Like, I feel like other seasons have there are good monsters in this season, but there's a lot. Like, the bottom 30% of this list is, like, really heavily populated out of this season. So I guess I would say...
Yeah, like ZZ Guri is at number 143, and the only thing he has going for him is that he really loves kimchi, but really loving kimchi is better than having a whip, right?
Yeah, so there's Mogu, who is like the weird big eater, and then there's Yu Wuren.
Remind me who Yu Wuren was again. He was an early one, right?
He is an early one. His whole deal is that he is their best traffic light destroyer. He's just like a big tooth head monster. He's like a weird piranha thing.
Yeah, he's a big...
There's not much going on with him.
He is a big tooth head monster. I don't know.
So, like...
Is it better to have a big tooth, or is it better to have a whip?
Well, I think I'm going to go with Yu Wuren as cooler, just because, like, I like the idea of being chief traffic light destroyer. That's at least a little more on brand for a Bozoke than, like, chief animal tamer.
Oh, you know what, Dave? Yu Wuren is definitely better, because Yu Wuren comes back later as revived Yu Wuren, and he's got, like, robot goggles, and it's very dumb and pretty fun.
Oh, yeah, okay, definitely better. So, 168, CC Piccione. The weird animal Mr. Peanut Tamer.
Yep. Sorry, CC Piccione, you kind of suck, but this was a fun episode. And that, Dave, that is going to do it for this episode of License to Carranger. Before we finish up here, I'd like to remind you all that you can email the show at supersentaibrothers@gmail.com. If you want to get any updates on future episodes or check out what we're talking about on Twitter, we are at Super Sentai Bros. Dave, if the good people would like to get a hold of you to get in on the playtest for Go Sentai Heroes, the tabletop role-playing game that you are developing, how would they do that?
If you just email me at gosentaiheroes@gmail.com, I'll get the rules out to you. And we've had a few people get back to me with some suggestions and comments, and that's been really great. So looking forward to hearing from anybody else.
Right on. If you like the show, please remember that shining in the iTunes review section, there are 5 stars. If you would like to rate and review the show on iTunes, that would be very kind of you. The Super Sentai Brothers are a production of Retrograde Orbit Radio. Once again, I'm sorry, if you'd like to find any of the other Retrograde Orbit Radio shows, you can do that all at retrogradeorbitradio.com. Once again, we are the Super Sentai Brothers. I'm Matt.
I'm Dave.
And we'll see you next week for the greatest show on Earth.